Hello everybody, this is a short video for those of you who are new to writing creatively or narratively. This may be especially useful for those people who are sitting AQA GCSE English language. So we're just going to look at using techniques. So sometimes you're given an image like this that's got minimal stimulus for you to write about, and you've got to try and make it as interesting as possible. So take the object of a tree. Staring at this tree, we've got to make it the focus of our writing. Trembling, the tree shook his long spindly fingers loose of the soggy snow. Before him was a sea of white that had drowned his friends beneath his branches. For he was colossal and strong. It would never be claimed by the snow that lay waiting for the day he fell like a frozen, undying vulture. So I've just tried to make that as interesting as possible because it's quite a limited picture, really. So first of all, I've used personification when we're talking about the tree having fingers that tremble. And personification is when we're given an inanimate object human features. So inanimate means anything that isn't living, moving, breathing, and we're kind of making it as if it is something that is alive. Then we've got the metaphor. For him was a sea of white. So once again, metaphor, and it's a complete comparison. When you're saying that something is something, it's a very strong comparison. And finally, he lay waiting for the day he fell like a frozen, undying vulture, which is a simile, which is a comparison using like or as. Now, if you are doing GCSE English, you get marks for the variety of techniques you use. And then later on, as you progress through the marks, it's how well you use these. So you can use an extended metaphor, an extended personification, extended metaphor, where you go into detail about that. When doing a description, it's really important to understand about word classes. So I don't know if you can recall what they are, if you've ever studied these before. We've got a noun, which is the name of a person, place or thing. Verb, which is a doing word. An adverb, which describes that verb, so we're adding information to the verb. And finally we've got an adjective, which is a describing word. So you find that adjectives are probably the most common word class there, but this really helps for when you're doing language analysis especially. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Okay, I want you to pause the video and come up with a bank of verbs, adjectives, adverbs and nouns that you could possibly use to describe this image. Okay, so some of the answers you could have had for verbs, we have swaying, waving, waiting. Now these are all things that human beings do, so we make that comparison to have personification, and we make the reader feel sorry for the tree. Adjectives, we have pure, unspoiled and bare. Adverbs, we have silently, mournfully, coldly. And nouns, we have frost, ice and wasteland. Now we're kind of keeping on a certain tone that's consistent with the actual picture, so that we're writing for the specific image rather than just writing something that we want to write about. So just a quick look over the different techniques that I want you to use today. So personification. As I said before, personification is when we give human features to something that is not human. Identify 3 human traits that might be applied to a tree. So I just want you to think about 3 things that a human being might do that we could also say that a tree might do to make it seem a little bit more like a human being. So we have loneliness, watchfulness, standing guard and being heartbroken. These are all things that both a human being and we could say that a tree feels those things if it was capable. So it should look like this. The frozen tree stood guard over the dead field. Heartbroken, he had watched the frost claim every last one of his friends, filling him with loneliness. So that word loneliness there and heartbroken, they're both emotive words as well. So we've got personification and we've got emotive language there. So it's always good to have the audience feeling something and understanding how the tree actually feels. It makes it a little bit more relatable rather than you just saying, oh, there's a tree in a field. So metaphors and similes. Now these are some of the most common techniques that are used, but it's a really good skill if you can actually use it well. So a metaphor is a comparison where you say that something is something else that is meant figuratively, not literally. So you're not being 100% serious, you're just trying to make a comparison. Secondly, we have a simile. which is a comparison where you say that something is like something else. This is meant figuratively, using like or as. For example, my husband looks like a pig would be the simile, and my husband is a pig. Very, very simple usage, but it's something that we use on a day-to-day basis, especially when it comes to our insults, I guess. So, creating techniques. To think figuratively, we have to think about what a tree is not and what it cannot actually do, but discover what we can compare it to in order to describe it. Make a list of the things that a tree isn't, but what the image makes you think of. Here's a few examples to show what I mean. So here's my example. Standing in a dead field, the tree was a soldier watching over an ancient war zone. For years it had watched the landscape change around him, but he had acted like a statue, pretending none of it had affected him. But today the frozen ground made his limbs tremble. A newborn tree had perished that winter, and he had waited for its company. The opportunity to be a parent had, like the young tree, died. So there you see that I've tried to use those techniques to kind of make it seem a bit more interesting, make it into something that it isn't really not. You'll often find that if you are doing GCSE, you'll be given a photo that really requires a lot of creativity on your part in order to make it exciting. Even though it's a very good picture, a very nice picture, we have to kind of create something from it. We have to create a sense of character and a sense of feeling towards the image. Feel free to leave any pieces of writing in the comment section, just examples of any metaphors or similes or anything like that you want to share with people. It might really help people who are struggling. And also, if you want to kind of download any lessons, you can click here to find my page on Tess, or you can follow me on Twitter.